sports fans? Welcome to Thursday Night Live on the Prep Sports Report Facebook page. It's the coach, Carl Damasi, with the sports reporter, Travis Jadon, and also Mr. Podcast himself from Hot Grit Podcast, part of the Coach's Corner Sports Network. And the columnist had a little family thing to do tonight. He had to take his son over to a Blessed Sacrament middle school football game. He's going to try and jump on. But once again, it's the coach, it's the sports reporter, Travis Jadon, right here on the Prep Sports Report Facebook Live. Thursday Night Live. What's up, Travis?
Hey, Carl. Good to be with you, man. I'm in my car right now. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Hopefully the service is all right.
Hey, everything's going good. I know you had to try a couple of spots. I had to, rejoin with my internet connection. Hey, modern technology, you got to love it, right?
Yeah, part of 2020, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's very uncommon. You don't know what's going to go wrong. So if we do lose the internet connection, we'll come back and we'll talk to you about local sports. So once again, if you haven't been following the Coach's Corner Sports Network, we have 3 shows now. We have, of course, Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. We have the Rubbin' and Grubbin' team of Dan Foles, Brandon Baines, and, of course, Lawrence Bennett. Then, of course, the coach and the AD on the Carl Damasi Sports Report Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings. And now we got the new kids on the block, the Hot Grit Podcast with Spencer Maddox, go Cavaliers, and then with Travis Jadon, Savannah Coach Day, go Hornets. Hey, how does 2 guys that are arch rivals become good friends and put together a podcast? And you know what's ironic? Georgia plays Florida on Saturday. It's their 34th episode, number 34. Probably the greatest running back in college football, Herschel Walker. How'd you guys work that out?
Yeah, we try to Spencer and I have known each other since we were young kids. We both were born in Savannah, grew up in Savannah. And we started this podcast back in March, the Hot Grits podcast. And we wanted to just kind of almost document all of the wild sort of conversations we have. We just stick to sports for the most part, but interesting things tend to happen to us every week. And so we kind of just talk about whatever is current. This week on episode 34, which, as you said, is the Herschel Walker episode, we have Christian Gokel from ESPN Coastal Radio on to preview Georgia, Florida, and talk sort of bigger picture Georgia football stuff. We talk about Kirby Smart versus Mark Richt and kind of how they've started. The Georgia quarterback room since Matt Stafford left hasn't had a first-round pick and have struggled really in several different years to have a serviceable quarterback. And we talk about a bunch of other stuff too, Carl. So people can check it out on Apple and Spotify. It's called the Hot Grits podcast. And every week we try to mix it up a little bit. Hopefully people enjoy it.
Well, I've listened to a number of them. You guys are really excited. You get a little, I guess, how you feel. You let the people know how you feel, and just so you know, it's not G-rated, people. So they're going to let you know how they feel. It's not censored, and that's what the internet's all about. And you guys are expressing your feelings. And I'm just going to go one thing. Georgia is not known as quarterback you. It's known as running back you. So, but you still need somebody that can take control and do things when you have to. It's not a game manager. You need somebody to step up and make that big play sometimes. And right now, Stetson Bennett, I had the pleasure of coaching against him, but that was in basketball because when I was coaching at Island, still coaching at Islands, we were in that region. We played Pierce County, but he was the quarterback, the point guard on the basketball team. You could tell the kid was special athlete, but I don't know there, Travis. He just seems like he's a little shorter than everybody says Drew Brees and the good old Mr. Wilson up there and Russell Wilson up there in Seattle. I just don't know if it's going to cut it with Georgia this year.
Look, yeah, and I like Stetson Bennett as much as the next guy does, and obviously being a South Georgia guy, there's a rooting interest there. But I just, as someone who follows Georgia and has been following Georgia since they were, a little kid, it is sort of frustrating to look around the conference and look around the football landscape and see that, there aren't many colleges or teams that have the kind of state that Georgia has to work with, the kind of home state. And you look, Deshaun Watson from 40 minutes north of Athens, a number 1 overall pick out of Clemson. This year, Trevor Lawrence from Cartersville headed towards a number 1 overall pick out of Clemson. Justin Fields from Kennesaw area, Harrison High School, is going to be a first-round pick. He's at Ohio State now. And so Georgia just, Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, people like that at Alabama, you go all the way across it. And even when they play Florida this weekend, Carl, you'll see Kyle Trask is as good as Stetson Bennett is and as, nice of a player as he is. He's not Kyle Trask. And so when you're constantly outmatched at the quarterback position, it's tough. I mean, it's tough to kind of settle with that.
But, Matthew Stafford is the only Georgia quarterback that has made it big time. I mean, all those other quarterbacks haven't done anything.
Well, I would say that the quarterbacks that have come after Stafford at Georgia have been good in college, but they're not first-round picks. And there's something to be said about that. If Deshaun Watson gets away from you and right in your backyard, then you choose, essentially you're choosing Fields over Lawrence out of high school. Lawrence was at one time committed to Georgia. It's just tough. I mean, you look at quarterbacks. There are quarterbacks. Georgia just doesn't, unfortunately, have any of those highly rated guys, and so they're going to have to try to win with what they got.
Now, there's only one question I got if I ever met Kirby Smart. What did they see that Jake Fromm had over Justin Fields? That's what I want to know. I want to know that.
I mean, I think it was the 2018 national championship run. And from the time that Jacob Eason gets hurt against Appalachian State, those next 10 games, in my mind, solidified Jake Fromm in Kirby Smart's mind for better or worse. I don't know if I think looking back, it's still not clear if it was the right choice. Who knows what would have happened, if Fields stays and Fromm becomes the backup. I don't know what happens, but that is a decision that Kirby Smart's going to have to live with for a long time.
I know we got to get to prep sports here, but the local football stuff and what's going on. But, being an old ball coach, okay, and believing in his philosophy, okay, yes, Jake Fromm had that great run. But if you got an underclassman who is talented and who could probably be the number one quarterback, the best player is going to play in my mind. And that's why I like to pick his. How did they come up? What was the characteristics? What were the key points that they decided Jake Fromm over Justin Fields? That's all I got to say. I mean, we're never going to know. And like you said, Jake Fromm's in the NFL, but he's not doing anything. And Justin Fields is going to light it up this year. So, I think Justin Fields is going to get the year under his belt, and he's going to make people think, that he can do something. We just lost him again, so hopefully he'll come back. So you're listening to Thursday Night Live. It's the coach, Carl DeMasi, joined by the sports reporter, Travis Jadon. He'll be connecting right now. There he is. He's coming back on. We usually do this with our third sports media personality, the columnist, Stephen L. Weeks, but he's doing a family thing with his son. He's over at Blessed Sacrament, I think against Calvary in a football game, so he promised his son to take him. Hey, family first. All right, big week in high school football. It's been uncommon all year long. If you would have told me back in July, Travis, that we were going to play a full schedule, I would have been very, very hesitant. But they've done it 1 week at a time. We got 2 weeks to go. Friday night, Saturday this weekend. Then we got next weekend. Bethesda Academy's already in the skis of playoffs. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting that we've got this far with high school sports.
Yeah, it is. And obviously we're still inching along here, Carl. There are things that change every week. Obviously, we know that. Beaufort, South Carolina was slated to come and play BC tomorrow night at Memorial Stadium for BC's season finale, their 9th and final regular season game. That game has been called off due to coronavirus concerns. Beaufort, that was Beaufort's choice to do that. And of course, there are no, BC is not playing a region schedule, so that's not a region game. But now that's another week now that BC will be separated from its final game in the regular season and its first game in the state playoffs. So that'll be interesting to watch out for.
Well,
a lot of good games tomorrow night, though.
They'll have 2 weeks to get ready, and Danny Britt will definitely have them prepared for whoever they play in the first round. And usually, when you're a number 1 seed, you're going to get a number 4 seed. You're pretty much locked to move on, unless
I wouldn't want BC in the first round. That's for sure.
No, because they're going to come out with guns blaring. They're going to be ready to go. Cannons shooting fire, cannonballs all over the place, fire all over the place. So, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, last weekend, anything surprise you from last weekend? I mean, that was a great game. Savannah Christian against Calvary, and then your boys, The cardiac kids over there at Saunders Field pulled one out, the Hornets, and I don't know. I didn't see the highlight, but what Chad Griffin was telling me, that 2-point conversion play was unbelievable. They lined up to kick the extra point, then they brought the offense back on. They didn't change the center. He snapped it. I don't know whether it was through Klein Peters' legs or over Klein Peters' head. He picked it up on the 30-yard line, and he just hauled it into the end zone, and Mr. Wynn was right there for that 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I mean it was a wild football game, and in typical Country Day fashion, they saved their best for last in that game versus Aquinas, previously undefeated Aquinas, number 6 in the state. They were 7-0. The Irish were. They were leading 28-14 with just over 4 minutes to go. They were leading 28-21 with 50 seconds to go. Carl Klein Peter hit Wynn on a touchdown pass, and then I believe what happened on the 2-point conversion. Can you still hear me, Carl?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I think what happened on the 2-point conversion was that they had their long snapper out for the extra point.
Right.
Country Day did. And the guy had his hand on the football, the center did, the long snapper. And then when they decided to go for 2 points, there was no timeout called. The long snapper had to keep his hand on the ball and then become because it's a penalty if you release the ball. So then he snaps it over Klein Peters' head. It was like a 15-second play, and they eventually won. So that sets up a big one with Calvary Friday night, and Savannah Christian will be at Aquinas in that region.
Yeah, I got to watch the Calvary game on TV, and Islands had a bye, so I didn't have to go anywhere, and I sat home and watched it. And Calvary had the momentum. Calvary had the momentum the whole first half. They just couldn't punch it in, and then second half, Savannah Christian came out. They made their adjustments and put up 21 points, and it was a great game. And Calvary still had a chance at the end of the game after Savannah Christian went up 21-14. It went right through number 5's hand. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Went through his hands.
Corda. Brogan Corda, I think.
Went through his hands. It would have been a chance to tie the game. It was exciting. It was a typical Savannah Christian Calvary ball game, and those teams have played 6 times in the last 4 years, and the games usually are high scoring, but except for I think was last year. Wasn't there a 6-3 game somewhere thrown in there? So, but it was a great game, and I heard I went out there for the first game of the season in Pooler Stadium. I really didn't check out the stadium. I was on the field, never got a chance to do what I had to do when I was there that night, and I heard it's just beautiful. I didn't get a chance to walk the field, but I heard that it's the same field as Calvary and Benedictine.
Yeah, I would still, when you walk onto Calvary's turf over there, it's better than anything I've been on. I don't know if it's the same thing. It might be. Maybe it's just the look of it to me, but there's nothing to me that compares with that track that Calvary has. And I've, been on several different college football surfaces, including in Statesboro, Athens, and Baton Rouge, Texas State. None of those schools have better surfaces than Calvary does, in my mind. So that's a testament to them in the specialty sports complex. Carl, you were talking about Savannah Christian Calvary last week. Talked to our good buddy Dennis Knight, who covered that game for the Savannah Morning News, and he was telling me that he thought coming into the game, and so I think we all thought that the key would be Calvary's defensive line versus Savannah Christian's offensive line. And I thought on both sides of the ball, kind of both lines held. And I thought both quarterbacks played well. And so I think Calvary, as tough of a loss as that was, and it's a tough loss, you come away, at least I did after rewatching that game, I come away more and more impressed with Jake Merklinger, that freshman quarterback. Spencer Robichaux is a unique talent as a senior at Savannah Christian. Merklinger is something that Calvary fans should be really excited about over the next 4 years.
We're getting spoiled with these young kids at quarterback. Thomas Carver comes in as a freshman. Jake Merklinger is a freshman. Barry Kleinpeter is a freshman. Spencer Robichaux as a freshman. So, these young kids coming in as quarterbacks, they're really the real deal. And I can't believe we still get to watch Barry Kleinpeter a whole season next season. So I'm excited about that. And, Robichaux has proved that he is a talented quarterback in this area. And, it's just, I got to talk about you did your little quarterback special. I mean, take Jaden Adams out at Islands. I mean, that kid last year was thrown into the fire halfway through the season, and that offense, even though they did lose some key players, did not miss a beat. And he is so smooth the way he runs the offense out there. And tomorrow night, New Hampshire is going to have a two quarterback system. I got to see how that works. That's going to be pretty interesting. I never believed in a two quarterback system. I always stuck with one guy. So Kyle Hockman knows what he's doing. So it's going to be pretty interesting to watch that too. What do you got? Jarrell out there. Who's the other quarterback? You know who the other quarterback is?
No, not off the top of my head, no. But we had an opportunity to talk, or I had an opportunity to talk with Randy Jarrell before the season, and he did hint at the fact that they might do that. So I don't know if it's an indictment of any kind on Randy Jarrell or the way he's played, that they're using two quarterbacks. And I'll be honest, Carl, I have not seen New Hampshire on film or in person yet this year. So all I can go by is the numbers and what I've been told by people who have seen them. I'm really excited to see what that game tomorrow night holds. And I'm excited to see Jaden Adams again. I haven't seen Island since they beat Jenkins in the season opener. This for me is Island's. I don't think it's really a question. This is their biggest test, at least in the foreseeable future.
Well, we thought the first game of the season against Jenkins was be a test, but they just manhandled Jenkins in that first game. Windsor Forest and New Hampshire went at that what do they call it? Snob blocker with that old saying. Both of them 7-6.
Slobberknocker.
There you go, a snobberknocker. I mean, they just went at it, and Kyle Hockman. I mean, it was a very physical game, and New Hampshire came out 7-6 winners. So they haven't had a tough game since then either. So it's going to be pretty interesting what these two teams. And you know what? It's for the second seed, so you should get to be able to host the first round game. You don't have to go on the road, so there's a lot to it. So it'll be a fun one out there at Pula Stadium. Plus, I won't be listening to you on the TV because I'll be there at the game. So you got the color guy for WSAV Friday Night Blitz game of the week again, right?
Yeah. So Greg Talbot will be doing the play-by-play, and I'll be doing, the analyzing of that game. Carl, I wanted to ask you about this. Obviously, you've been around Savannah forever. Do you think that the Islands, New Hampshire, the way those two schools are tied and athletic programs are tied like they were when they first started, right? Because they came in same exact year, right?
Right.
That's okay. So,
yep.
And they sort of took similar paths quick paths into becoming GHSA state playoff. They didn't take 2 or 3 years to integrate, right? And so I'm interested to see. It doesn't feel like they're as tied at the hip anymore, right? New Hampshire and Islands, and they're not as compared as they once were. But now that they're in the same region, maybe they will start. Maybe there'll be a rivalry there building too, because frankly, it doesn't feel like Islands, New Hampshire is that big of a rivalry, but maybe it should be.
Well, that's where I work, Islands High School.
Yeah.
Islands High School, New Hampshire, no matter what they're doing, is going to be a rivalry. It'll always be a rivalry.
Do you think that's why? Because they came in at the same time?
Yeah, I had the privilege of starting. I was given the opportunities to start the Islands program a year ahead of New Hampshire. So we played 2 years JV. New Hampshire only played 1, and then we both went to the varsity level. I backed off because, I had enough of coaching football at that point. I needed a break, and Sean Simpson took over the reins. And Island's first win ever was a 14-13 game over New Hampshire. But even though they went their separate ways into different divisions, because New Hampshire had a bigger population, now they've come down to be each other. No matter what we did, basketball, because I was the basketball coach, or the softball teams, the volleyball teams, it's a rivalry. It's always going to be a rivalry, and it's cross town. You got the school out on the islands, you got the school out in the country. It's a rivalry. These kids are looking forward to it. They know each other. They talk about it, and if you go to the school and if you're in the school, outside the schools, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but to these schools, it's a big deal.
Islands, they have New Hampshire this week, and then how many more games do they have on the schedule?
One more. They finish off with is it Beach? No, Savannah High. They finish it off with Savannah High.
And so they don't have an open date in between.
Nope. They had their bye last week.
Boy, it would be fun to see BC at Islands play, huh?
Hey, it's a shame that it worked out that way, but I work for the Chatham County Public School
For sure.
system, and I
Yeah,
have to honor their wishes, and they felt that it would be safer to just stay in our own little bubble with our own little kids, and that's the way they wanted to do it. And I mean, that's the way we had to do it. Now they've loosened the reins a little, where we're going to go into basketball, where the basketball schools are allowed to play anybody that's in Chatham County. So we get to play Savannah Country Day, Savannah Country,
BC,
BC.
BC.
Uh, back
So
when we started,
theoretically, the same players that are not allowed to play BC in football are going to be allowed to play them in basketball. I get what the Savannah Chatham County public school system did, and I would have done the same exact thing they
well, when
did.
we started, when we started in June and July, we had no idea what this was going to be like. And
Right, right.
Dr. Levette, I love Ann Levette. She looks at the 38,000 kids in the Chatham County public school system as one of her own. And I think she didn't come out and say this, and I give her a lot of credit because I could feel it. Her main concern was protecting the kids. She did not want to see any of the Chatham County public school kids, whether not get COVID, but pass away from it. So, I mean, she had that mother ingenuity to protect the kids, and she was going to do it. And we have to honor her opinion. And she's in charge of it, and that's the way she felt. And slowly but surely, we're coming back. Hey, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. COVID-19, the numbers are rising again. I think Georgia had its biggest increase of cases today, 2,000 cases. So we don't know where we're going. Are we going to be lucky enough to get into basketball and play a whole basketball season? Hey, I'm going to take one game at a time. This old guy is finally back on the sidelines. It's going to be one game at a time, and hopefully we'll get to play a full schedule. But we got to be a little cautious here. It's something that you don't want to fool around with. And me, I'm in that. Believe it or not, I'm in that age range where the chances are greater for me if I got the COVID-19 virus. But you know what? I'm a coach. I'm a teacher at heart. I'm going to do what I do. I got to love what I got to do. And I'm lucky enough they let me back in the building. And I might see only 5 or 6 kids in my classroom twice a week. But I'm telling you right now, it's like heaven when those kids are in the classroom. You can relate to them. You can talk to them. So, I'm lucky enough to do that. And whatever games we get, I got to thank the good Lord that we're doing it. So it's one game at a time, and we got to protect everybody. So wear your mask, social distance. The kids like being back in school. I know some of them are complaining that they're doing a lot of virtual work in school, but at least they go to 1 or 2 or 3 classes and they get to see their friends. So hopefully nothing will come out of it, and we'll all be back for the second semester. But yeah, I mean, you gotta think about all that's in concern. And I'll tell you right now, I feel bad for Benedictine because they're in the region that we're in. I mean, you only have Islands, New Hampstead, Jenkins, and Benedictine, and when that happened, I mean, Danny had to do a great job. He scrambled. He got all his games except for this week. He was being. And if you read Dennis Knight's story on the internet already, Danny Britt was doing the right thing. He called over to Buford and told him they were canceling a JV game because some of his players were in contact with someone who was COVID-19 positive. They weren't. So he did the right thing. So then Buford just said one step later, well, if you have some JV kids, we're not going to take the chance on a Friday night. So, that's the world we live in. But what really blows my mind is we see more and more pro games or pro players and college players coming down this than we are seeing with kids in high school. So maybe the statistics show you that high school younger kids, aren't as prone or as susceptible as the older population. So who knows what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. There is no right choice. I would just say that I would hope that the Savannah Chatham County public school system and GHSA have taken this football season as a way to learn what works, what doesn't work, what the coaches and players and teams and schools like and what they don't like heading into basketball season. What I wouldn't want to see is a lot of these games or a lot of these sort of problems that lead to postponements and cancellations of games. Hopefully some of that can at least be resolved and fixed before basketball season. But you're right, Carl, some of this stuff there's nothing anyone could have done, period, before, after, or during. So I guess you charge it to the game, as the kids say, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right, you're watching Thursday Night Live on the Prep Sports Report Facebook page. It's the coach, Carl DeMasi, yours truly, and the kid, the sports reporter, the podcaster from Hot Grids Podcast, Travis Jadon. Stephen Elmo Weeks is usually on, the columnist, but he had to help. Didn't have to help. He had to go take his son to a football game, and family time comes first. All right, I know I got you for 6 minutes. You're on the clock. This week's games, you wrote a great article. Go to the PrepSportsReport.com website. Brand spanking new, all redone. And you had your Week 10 capsules. You had 4 top games. Hey, let's go down between the bricks down in Richmond Hill, down in Brunswick, in Glenn County Stadium for Richmond Hill and Glenn. The Red Terrors taking on the Wildcats. Matt Lazat, another great job, but you got to worry about Rocky Hidalgo.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn Academy, obviously a name brand, right, Carl? But for Richmond Hill, they've been in so many of these games that we talk about on shows like this, that we circle, that we preview, and they almost always win, right? At home, away from home. They are battle-tested. And it seems like forever ago now, Carl, when they opened up at Camden County, you wonder, why would you do something like that? That's a really tough team to play out of region. You don't have a lot to gain. And then you hear the coach speak. We want to be ready down the line when we're going into – and now it looks like that is exactly what Richmond Hill has done. They've rattled off 6 in a row. Poor Brunswick. Brunswick has 3 losses, and all 3 are to teams ranked within the top 5 in the state. So, they're a really, really good football team, and Richmond Hill won going away last week. You can read that story on PrepSportsReport.com.
That's right. That was
I'm fascinated to see if Richmond Hill can continue their run on the ground, and Ashad Robertson, who has 1.5 million games in a row with over 100 rushing yards. But really, Tyler Coleman, the quarterback for Richmond Hill, has come along. He's moved clearly from a game manager to someone that can make plays in the passing attack. And then that Richmond defense that was so good for the whole season gave up 21 points in the first half last week to Brunswick, and then essentially shut it down after that. They're about as good as it gets, and Nathan Vickers, their defensive end, is coming along. They are playing some young guys at corner, but I think Matt Lazat will have his team ready, and I like Richmond Hill as a serious Final Four candidate in 6A.
All right, and we're not going to see tomorrow night. We're not going to see Benedictine at Memorial Stadium taking on Buford High School out of South Carolina, the number 8 team, according to your capsule, in the South Carolina High School League. But I'm telling you right now, the stat that gets me, Buford was averaging almost 42 points a game and only giving up 14 points a game. I would have loved seeing the BC defense take on that offense, and then, of course, turn around the BC offense with all those star players, Gerner and Thomas, and I mean, you name it, they have it over there. I mean, Broadnecks and Bryant,
LaShawn Brooks, Zaquan Bryan. Yeah, they got players.
It would have been a heck of a game.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, what else is new? Danny Brett scheduling tough when given the choice. It would have been nice. And now BC will have to sit on that South Effingham game that if you listen to Danny Brett talk this week, he didn't sound concerned, but I know that he doesn't like giving up that many yards and that many yards on the ground, especially. They'll have a chance to get their defense right before the state playoffs. And then down in single A, Carl, it's going to be fascinating too. But I think Islands New Hampstead probably is the one to watch tomorrow night, like you said, for that 2 seed.
So it's November 6th. Benedictine won't return to the field till after Thanksgiving, November 27th. So they got 3 weeks off before they play. I don't know. 3 weeks is a long time, but you get everybody healed. Hopefully, there's no COVID-19 cases, and we'll see like that. But Savannah Christian and goes up to Aquinas, which we just saw Savannah Country Day pull out a big win. Aquinas is going to be ready to do it to Savannah Christian, and then Calvary taking on Country Day over there at Spetzley Sports Complex. Just 2 great games. And like you said, the game that everybody's going to be looking at probably is the New Hampstead Islands game, which you'll be on the TV, being the color analyst, the man that's giving your insight. Quickly, 2 minutes. All right, so we got 2-minute warning. Hot Grid Podcast. What went on this week, and what were the topics that you zoomed in on with our man, Mr. Maddox?
Yeah, so episode 34 of the Hot Grids Podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, Anchor. You can find it on my Twitter at Jadon Sports. You know, this week we talked a lot about Georgia, Florida, previewed Georgia, Florida with Christian Gokel of ESPN Coastal Radio. But Spencer and I also spent some time talking about Georgia football, and then talking also about the Braves, their offseason, the Falcons, what they have coming up after winning last week. We hit on Georgia Southern a little bit. Talked a little bit about the election, Carl, not so much like the actual politics of it, but how we consumed it and kind of what Tuesday night and Wednesday night was like for a sports fan. Watching the election go down was almost as entertaining to me as watching like a Super Bowl that you don't care about either team. You just want to see who wins. That's what it was like for me. And so that was fascinating to me. If people that are really into politics, I cannot imagine the kind of stress and the kind of excitement that they're probably still feeling. So we talked a little bit about that. We recapped our favorite Halloween costumes that we saw out downtown Savannah last weekend. A lot of stuff on it. So yeah, definitely check it out for us and rate it 5 stars if you don't mind.
And just to let you know, to put this presidential election into perspective, it's the 7th game of the World Series, and your team is down by 1 run. You got the tying run on third base. You got the winning run on second base. It's a 3-2 count. You don't know who's going to win. We just lost him. Hopefully he'll come back on. Well, once again, Spencer Maddox and Travis John with the Hot Grits podcast. Great job. All part of the Coach's Corner Sports Network, along with Rubbin' and Grubbin'. And he's right back on here. The man's a trooper. Don't worry about it. So, once again, Travis, you'll be doing the color tomorrow night on WSAV Friday Night Blitz. Is that on CW or is that on the big station?
It's on WSAV CW.
Oh, it's on the CW. Okay, I think that's like channel 237 in my house. So if you want to check that out, check it out. But once again, I know you got to get out of here. You got things to do. Appreciate you coming on. Great job with the stories you've been writing for us. We really do appreciate it over at the Prep Sports Report. Stephen Weeks and myself. And once again, enjoy what you're doing and have a lot of fun. And I'll be bugging you on the sidelines tomorrow night.
All right, hey, that sounds good. Carl, I want to mention one more thing. Earlier this week, a former middle school coach of mine passed away from cancer, Coach Mark Case, who was at Jenkins and Oglethorpe Middle School. Coach Case was one of the best people I've ever had the privilege of meeting, and he dealt with me for several years coaching, so he deserves a lot of credit for that. So I wish his family and friends the best and hope he rests in peace.
Like I said,
thank you for having me, Carl.
Well, like I said, when I said to Robbie Wells, he made a comment to Coach Case. He was a coach's official. You could talk to him, and he could talk to you. The stripes didn't make him any better than you or above you during a game. Mark Case was a great educator. They loved him wherever he taught. A lot of us in the education field know how the impact he had on a lot of the kids in this in Savannah area. Yes, Godspeed to him. Rest in peace, Mark Case. A great man, great educator, great coach, great friend, and tough one to deal with. So once again, the coach and the AD, the Call of the Monster Sports World, will be back on Saturday morning. We got a great show. We're talking to the voice of the Richmond Hill Wildcats, the voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, the man himself that gets to go to the prettiest little stadium every time they got a home game and calls the PA announcing. We got Robbie coming on. Now I got a complete blank. But he'll be on. Hold it, I got to get his name. So let me check this out. I know I'm kind of tongue-tied here because the Mark Case thing threw me off here. So Robbie Ross. Yeah. So let me get my thoughts back here. So Robbie Ross, had a chance to work with him at ESPN Coastal. Great guy, loves sports. He now is the PA announcer at Richmond Hill for the Richmond Hill Wildcats on their home games on Friday nights, Saturday mornings. He's Saturday afternoons, Saturday nights, Thursday nights, you name it. He's the PA announcer at Georgia Southern for the Eagles. So that'll be a lot of fun. Our athlete of the week, I'm trying to hook up with, if I get this right, Abby Kate Doherty. Okay, she was the Region 3A volleyball player of the year. She's only a sophomore. The girl's phenomenal. Okay, so we'll have on, and then we'll wrap it up. Believe it or not, this lady does so many things. you wouldn't believe it, WJCL sports reporter, okay, Savannah Country Day assistant volleyball coach, Amy Zimmer will be on it to reflect on the season she's had running around, doing sports reports, coaching volleyball. She's also part of the quarterback club, helping them with the players of the week. So she's got her hands everything. So that'll be the show Saturday morning live, 9 o'clock at the center of the sports universe, Coach's Corner, all part of the Coach's Corner Sports Network. So until I talk to you on Saturday morning, hopefully it'll be for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Okay, may you hit it out of the park, and until next week, or until hopefully this week's been your greatest week ever. I'm out of here. You've been watching Thursday Night Live on the Prep Sports Report Facebook page. The coach, Carl Tomasi, the sports reporter, Travis Jadon, and the man that's watching middle school football. He can't hear me on the phone. That's why I didn't call in. Stephen Elmo Weeks. God bless. Be safe. Wash those hands. Wear the mask. And remember, social distance. Talk to you later. I'm out of here.